right, we'll go ahead and get started. Well, good morning. My name is Molly McGurr. I am the Event and Program Manager here at Traverse Connect, and we are so excited to have you all here with us today and that we're able to provide you with this webinar. So welcome to everyone. We do highly encourage you to ask any and all questions that you may have throughout the webinar. This is your opportunity. Any questions, any concerns, we do want to hear from you. So how you're able to ask questions is there is a Q&A button located at the bottom of your screen. You can go ahead and click on that button, type in any question that you may have. I never read off the person's name who is asking the question, but if you don't feel comfortable having our name displayed, there is an anonymous tab as well that you may select. And we will be addressing all questions and answers at the end of the presentation today. Additionally, I did want to make everyone aware that this webinar is being recorded and will be shared on the Traverse Connect YouTube page and Traverse Connect website within 24 hours. So on that note, I would now like to pass it over to Mandy. Mandy, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you, Molly. My name is Mandy Centieri. I'm the Director of Finance and Operations for Traverse Connect, and I have the pleasure of introducing our speakers for today's webinar. First speaker is John Sanford. John is a seasoned and agile HR executive with more than 25 years of experience across a variety of industries and disciplines. In his 14+ years with Axios HR, he has provided his clients guidance, direction, and resources to help them become the inclusive and engaged organizations they strive to be. His areas of expertise include management and leadership consultation, employee relations, compensation, benefits strategy, performance development, team building, board consultation, including education and nonprofit organizations. With a bachelor's degree in business management with a human resource emphasis from Grand Valley State University, John is an energetic presenter and offers clients expertise and fresh ideas in the areas of tactical and strategic human resource services. John is a member of the Society for Human Resource Management, as well as an active member of the Greater Grand Rapids Association for Human Resource Management, and has been a featured speaker in career development at Ferris State University, Grand Valley State University, Aquinas College, and subject matter specific webinars. So welcome, John. Thank you for being with us today. Our second speaker is Don Galinsky. Don is a knowledgeable technology specialist with more than 40 years of experience across a variety of computer industries and disciplines. Before joining ISC, he spent 24 years with Pitney Bowes, serving as a regional service and support manager. In his 18+ years with ISC, Don has provided his clients guidance, direction, and resources to help them navigate the complexities of the computer world. His areas of expertise include computer and network management, information technology consulting, HHS and HIPAA compliance, and cybersecurity assessment and analysis. So, welcome, Don. Thanks for being with us. With that, I'm going to turn it over to John to get us started. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. I'll get my screen going here, and we should be ready to go. So in talking about building a successful work from home culture, it really kind of starts with what's happening in the workplace today and kind of what's the, I would call it the state of the workplace. And honestly, it runs the gamut. We work with over 80 companies statewide and nationwide, and probably a couple extra dozen beyond that with special consulting projects that we do. I have clients who even a month or two ago said, you know what, we're all working from home until Labor Day, and as we get closer to that, we'll sort it out. We've got some groups that are doing shifts and having people come in and out of workspaces and office spaces. We have essential employers who were operating pretty much at 100% all the way through and continue to, with some office staff coming and going or working remotely as they need to. Honestly, it really depends, quite honestly, on the culture of the organization, your operations, and the technology support that people need to make things happen. And so we'll be really touching on all of those things here today. And the culture piece is a big piece of that. I think what we've seen from an awful lot of groups is, you're going to have people on every end of the spectrum here. Some folks, probably such as myself, who is a self-proclaimed HR gypsy, I'm just fine sitting at home in my cargo shorts and, collared shirt and slippers and working from home and or wherever I happen to land. And quite honestly, other folks really miss the coffee in the office, and they really want to get back, and they miss the socialization and being able to instantly collaborate with people by turning their chair around and talking to somebody. And so you really have to deal with really that wide spectrum of emotion there, connection that people have with each other, and just how people feel most comfortable working. Some people really need to go to work. And other folks are just, hey, I'm fine at the Starbucks or the Big B down the road or their neighborhood coffee shop, or again, just hanging out at home and having a 2-second commute. So you really have to kind of take all those into consideration, along with, just the general feelings of health and well-being that people want to make sure they have in coming to work. So how your work culture really impacts things brings that to their home as well. So to kick things off here, a couple of things that we need to kind of be looking at, and this is kind of getting into that extension of, what's the next step? What are the next things we're looking at as this continues to move forward? An awful lot of employers have really adapted what I would call a hybrid workplace, where working from home, working from the office, using the office essentially as a conference room collaborative space is becoming more and more common. And when you look at some of the larger, especially technology-based workplaces around the country and globally, are looking at moving to this sort of a model more full-time. From that, though, what are some of the things that people tend to miss? What are some of the benefits they miss when they're working from home or just working remotely? You may have benefits that tie into local services or on-site services such as gym, fitness, or other kind of stipends that you might provide to people using local services. Or those things that you can actually, extend out and find additional options for people to gather those kind of services closer to home to maintain those benefits and that feeling of connectedness to the company. Obviously, when you're looking at people working more remotely, company culture and camaraderie can be very hard to maintain. A lot of those connections and things that you do, we would call that the water cooler talk, obviously, and sometimes the lunchroom talk and the coffee break talk and everything else, with people to be able to connect, hand around. I know in our office, every birthday, cards go around and we get everybody to sign off on them. People get birthday cards and service anniversary cards and things like that. It's really hard to do that with somebody who's not physically there. So how can you maintain those kind of traditions and connectedness for people and help them feeling really good about where they are and who they're working for? And are there other benefits that people might need to utilize as well in this kind of situation? Different kinds of ancillary benefits. We offer a benefit out to our client groups called CareAllow. And it's a caregiving site that provides services, concierge services, resources. It's a database that you can share with other caregivers who might be taking care of somebody in your family, be it a spouse, a parent, an aunt and uncle, child even, if you have shared child care spaces. Are there other services and things like that you can tap in to help your team balance that work-life piece? Again, a lot of folks have been juggling a lot of things going on in their lives, be it working from home, taking care of other people in their families, trying to work while trying to teach children. All these things are stretching people in every direction. And I think that for the most part, most organizations are really going to have to deal with this on a continuous basis. Honestly, I mean, if I had a crystal ball, this is going to be something that we're going to be dealing with over the next probably 2, maybe even 3 years. So I think you really need to be looking at, for the long haul, how do we really make sure we're connecting people to the workplace and making them feel valued and supporting them as well as they're trying to deal with these new circumstances that they find themselves in. In addition, what are some of the time management policies and what's appropriate and effective? So looking at, how are we getting things done? We want to be flexible. We want to work with our people. We want to make sure they're balancing work and life. But ultimately, the work has to get done. And so we need to make sure that those things are happening as well. Whether you're establishing regular office hours or what some organizations might call core hours. We have a lot of groups that say, between 9 and 3, you need to make sure that you're available for online meetings or for client interaction or whatever it may be. But then outside of that, we're going to be a little more flexible because we know, you might be dealing with some situations at home, kids at home, et cetera. And again, I think that's going to be a continuing situation, obviously depending on the geography, both in the country and here in the state of Michigan. A lot of the schools in the southern part of the state are starting to make decisions about what instruction is going to look like, going into next year. I know I work with 3 different schools in the Traverse City area. All are intending right now to be on site and have students in place in August and September. But I think we know it's also a very fluid situation, and they're, as I would say, hoping and planning for the best, but also have the backup plan there for the worst case scenario as well. Looking at employees who are working from home if they're non-exempt, and making sure they are in fact tracking their hours. For exempt employees or salaried employees, those are 2 different things, but we're not going to try to get too technical. Generally, you don't have to worry about that. It's about getting the job done, getting the work done. But for non-exempt employees, especially those that are flexing time and maybe they're doing administrative work after hours, maybe after the kids go to bed, making sure that they're accurately tracking that time. Any time over 40 hours still is overtime work for those kind of folks. So if they're doing that remotely, you do need to have a way to track that. Sometimes your online systems can do those kind of things for you, and sometimes there's just an easy app or online system that would allow you to do that as well. Internally as an organization, we use Harvest to help us with those things to make sure we're tracking time when we need to, but there's all kinds of different tools out there. You also want to make sure you don't go too far. There's plenty of stories out there that you read of organizations that have put computer monitoring software out there, keystroke monitoring software. If somebody stops typing for more than 5 minutes, a little pop-up will come up and say, hey, are you still there? Again, the big brother feeling can be pushed a little too far in some areas. So you really want to be careful about that. Again, depending on your company culture and how people are getting work done, you really have to have a good feel for what's going to work in your organization. This is really where I think the rubber meets the road, and most organizations tend to struggle is, we probably didn't really clearly measure things and have good ways to manage performance to begin with. And a lot of times that's where we find ourselves now when we're trying to manage a remote workforce. Well, if I can't see them, how do I know they're working? Well, just because there are cars in the parking lot at the office, are they actually working? When people come and go is not exactly a measure of success for people. And you need to really make sure that from a managerial standpoint, we're looking at things that are truly measurable: work product, customer touches, calls made, call time, whatever it may be that fits for your particular role. And ultimately, again, it's about the work getting done or the clients and customers being served, and making sure you're really building around those kind of areas for performance. And additionally, looking at where we can define work and how to do it. Talked about that flex time piece and when and how they prefer to work. Really kind of dividing that, or what are the things that are asynchronous, where we can do things at different times, and we don't have to be live or on a meeting or on a Zoom call. And what are the things that are truly synchronous, where we have to be interacting with people individually or as a team, be it in person, socially distanced appropriately, of course, and or if we can just do it from an electronic standpoint. My son-in-law works for a pretty large global company. He's got technological teams that he works with in Asia and Europe, and so this was kind of the life he was living regardless. Now it's his situation has been with his team. They're all working from home, have been working home, will continue to work through home, probably through at least September, they're planning right now. And then from there, they'll decide, do we really need to start going back into the office or not? So again, some folks are going to be obviously much more comfortable with that. Others are going to struggle with it a little bit. And we need to make sure we're providing flexibility for each of those kind of groups. Some of the other things from, offering remote work can really help us with talent attraction and retention. And a lot of times you think of that, and when you look at trying to find skilled workers, especially skilled technology folks or people who are doing things that can be done on a remote basis. I have a client here based in the Grand Rapids area, a professional and executive recruiting group. They're generally finding people here locally that they work with when they hire folks in. They actually just a week or two ago hired their first employee in Tucson, Arizona. I don't know that this would ever have happened if they hadn't been moving towards a little bit more of a flexible workplace to begin with. They actually started that, and we implemented a new policy in January to allow current staff to work from home or work remotely up to 2 days a week and kind of flex that time around the edges. Obviously, mid-March, they were forced to go 100% to that, and it's actually led to them finding talent that they can utilize now across their organization outside of the greater Grand Rapids or even Michigan area. And so really, again, looking at as people have experienced this now, again, some people have had that taste and they don't want to give it up. Others, again, are looking for some place where they can really land. But having that kind of flexibility to be able to attract new staff, new talent to your organization from outside of your specific geographic area can be a really nice benefit for people. Now, again, if you're in the greater Traverse City area, why would anyone not want to be there, right? Exactly. So I think most people are trying to flock to the greater northwest of Michigan, but again, if that's not a possibility, be thinking a little more flexibly than what you've done in the past. And again, from a retention standpoint, you still have a lot of people potentially working for you right now that are really nervous about the healthcare situation, about the COVID situation, and their own health, or the health of somebody else in their household or other loved ones. I was reading the paper this past weekend, just another, multiple heartbreaking stories of people who are in caregiving situations who can't go and see parents or other loved ones who are in nursing homes. They're trying to have conversations through plate glass windows because they can't go in due to the situation. And so again, if those folks can have more flexibility in their world to be able to deal with those kind of situations while maintaining their employment and providing great skills and service to your organization, it's going to help retain those people, letting them know that you value them and that you really want to make sure that they're taken care of, and being able to take care of their family is going to be a really big benefit. Other things to be thinking about. So as this work from home thing becomes a little more permanent for people or a little more regular, how do we manage that? I think when everybody grabbed their laptop or computers or their monitors and ran off to home, initially it's kind of like anything. Okay, this is an adventure. This is kind of fun. We'll figure this out and we'll work through it. And that's what everybody did. But as these things become a little more permanent, you need to shift how you're actually managing that. Again, looking at what other kind of costs might be incurred. Sitting at the kitchen table in your, favorite dining chair might be great for, an hour for dinner at night if you're lucky enough to get that. But, we're sitting there 6, 7, 8 hours a day actually doing work. It might not be the most ergonomically correct thing to do. So at a certain point, you start to, incur some different costs or pay for new equipment for people working from home. Do you allow them to come into the office? If you're using less and less space and less furniture at the office, can they take things home with them, and how do you account for that? Similar to other technology or other equipment that might be provided to people. How are you setting that up? Don and the team will be getting into some of the more specifics around internet connections, security, and all of those kind of things. So I'm going to absolutely leave that to the experts there. But again, looking at other kinds of stipends and other setups from any kind of work from home situation may have to change. That may become a cost of doing business versus in the past where it's been, when work from home was more of an employee convenience, and you're kind of like, you're on your own if you want to do that, but we'll let you do that as long as we're taking care of these other things, great. Now where it's almost becoming a requirement in some situations, employers are going to have to look at how do we do that, how do we make sure that they're properly set up at home to work and work efficiently and work effectively. The bulk of employees want to do the best they can, do the best work they can. Again, they're not really, quite honestly, quite as tied to where that work might be taken care of. And how does that tie into a total compensation and benefits plan? Again, when you're spending additional funds in one area, sometimes you've got to give in another. And that may be, part of a discussion around compensation or compensation changes that could be happening in the future for your organization. And as we kind of get close to wrapping things up here, the mental and physical health considerations of working from home, I actually found I tended to work from home probably a day and a half, maybe 2 a week, even before the COVID sent us all home. And I found, though, that quite honestly, I'd sit down to start working, and all of a sudden it'd be 1 o'clock. I'm like, wow, I should probably get some water or maybe grab something to eat. And 5:30, 6, 7 o'clock at night would roll around, and I'm like, whoa, yeah, I need to get up and move a little bit more. Really making sure people are doing that. It seems that in the office with the interactions with other people and talking to other people and et cetera, you just seem to move around a little bit more, I've found. So making sure that people at home are taking breaks, that they're getting disconnected upon occasion, go and get some refreshment, whatever they may need to be. for all employees, regardless of whether they're working in an office or working remotely, having an EAP program or easy access to mental health resources. An EAP is a great gateway to those kind of resources. I think when most people have a physical ailment of some kind, we kind of understand the system and how that works. Go see your primary care, or if it's more urgent, you go to urgent care, and then they kind of work you into the system and take care of you. Mental health can be accessed in that same way, but a lot of times people just don't see that as the gateway. But an EAP program can really help with that. Well, again, people are under all kinds of different stressors right now, from the home health care piece to home daycare, trying to find daycare as businesses start to reopen, people start coming back into the workplace. Hopefully as schools start to come back as well in the fall. To the other pieces that there may be stresses around, could be financial, could be, again, caregiver situations. Any of those things can be accessed through an EAP program. Watching how we manage. I think, quite honestly, most of the problem that I've seen and that I've been coaching people with has been more about manager approach to remote working than employee approach. Employees are kind of like, hey, I'm doing my job, I'm doing my work, let's keep things moving. It really becomes much more of how do we manage and how do we connect with people and manage them remotely. We could spend hours on that separately, and maybe someday we will. But I would make sure that the leadership is really setting a good tone out there, is really setting a good pace for people of knowing when to disconnect, of not sending those middle of the night emails or whatever it may be, where people just feel like they can't connect at all. The Zoom burnout, I think most people have really felt that, and I think there's been some interesting psychological studies about those kind of situations, whether you're using Microsoft Teams or Zoom or whatever you may be using. And some of it's even just the effect of seeing yourself on the screen while you're talking to other people, just the mental strain that puts you under. It'll be interesting to see a few years down the road what the bigger societal pieces are around that. But just knowing that, the phone actually still does work. I've had great phone conversations with people over the last few months. My general rule in the world is that if it takes more than 2 or 3 texts or 2 or 3 email replies, it's time to get on the phone and talk to somebody. Zoom can help with that if you need to talk to somebody face-to-face, but making those phone calls and not forgetting that there's an easy way to talk to somebody doesn't require staring at a screen the other time. And again, making sure that we maintain those social interactions. So if there are times when we can just get the team together from remote locations just to talk about what's going on, maybe it's just a lunch and learn piece or just a check-in during lunch and everybody can grab something to eat and have a beverage and just socialize. Those things are important. Recent studies out of the Society for Human Resource Management have even shown that younger employees in the workplace actually feel socially isolated, just because they're so connected to technology and to screens all day long that they actually feel like they're disconnected from the normal social interactions they have. Now, they may be spending half their time on Snapchat or something else while they're at work as well, but they are actually missing social interactions. And when they become remote employees, that can just multiply itself as far as the effect goes. We do have a couple sources here, and this will be sent out after the presentation as well. Some information from Global Workplace and CNBC around how people are paying for work from home. So hopefully those will be some resources that be useful for you. From there, and having talked a little bit about the IT piece, I will be happy to share this and turn this over to Don to talk about the more technical aspects of working from home.
Thank you, John. Appreciate that very much. Very good job. I know you mentioned a couple things regarding collaboration and that. First, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Don Galinsky from Integrated Systems Consultants, also known as ISC. And we have offices in Traverse City, Grand Rapids, and Frankenmuth. And I've been there a whole 18 years and a few months. So I'm going to share my screen at this point. There we go. I hope everyone's doing well. I just want to mention something that John talked about, and that was collaboration. Basically, We're used to meeting with teams in the office, get things done by saying, hey, can you share this with me? And we sit down, talk about how we're going to write this report. And we just don't do that anymore. We're scattered over numerous locations, zip codes, states, and like John mentioned, all over the world. We have meetings and group projects and reports that need to be reviewed. How do we do this? Well, web conferencing, as it's known, is a collaboration solution that allows us to not only make phone calls, but do video. Along with that, there is the ability to share those documents, whether it's online or on the video itself. We can also do the same with calendars, and we can do the same with almost any other application that is available. A couple of companies that do this very well are Cisco WebEx and Microsoft Teams, or 365 as they call it now. And we'll be getting more into that as we move on. A little bit about ISC. Basically, we provide a lot of comprehensive IT and collaboration support. We're a leading provider of technology services here in Michigan. We provide comprehensive IT management and support using down-to-earth, results-oriented type of services. We customize solutions that make sense for your unique business, which I believe is extremely helpful in designing a system just for you, as opposed to a network in a box or perhaps one size fits all. We customize most of our solutions. Our experienced team has been helping people for more than 30 years. For those who can remember, we were originally called Computerland. And again, our headquarters is in Traverse City, and we pretty much cover most of the state of Michigan. So if you need on-site support, we're there when you need it. We are official partners of Cisco, Microsoft, Dell, and VMware. Okay, we're going to cover 4 items today. How to provide IT support to keep employees productive. How do companies ensure that their security best practices are followed? What are the minimum technology requirements for remote employees and staff members? And again, overcoming those challenges with record keeping, sharing those files and calendars and meetings and collaboration. Okay. ISC can help provide IT support and keep employees productive in a variety of ways. We can assist you in keeping your data, connectivity, and operations secure. And this means not only the connection between the office and the home, but also the various ways that hackers can target home office locations. The cyber criminals are aware there's a pandemic going on, and it's a lot easier for them to hack into a home office than it is an office, say in downtown Traverse City, where most locations have firewalls and routers to protect them from these hackers. So we have to keep this at the top. Otherwise, we may be looking at situations where you're going to find ransomware or malware installed on your computer. One way to keep the connection secure is to utilize a VPN. This is a virtual private network that is set up in the office using a firewall, and then we would install an agent on your computer to make the connection secure. Again, there's a lot of other things that go along with that, but we're going to explain that in a little bit. And we just want to let you know that our IT support is available by phone, mail. We're around 24/7. And we have a managed service called ISC Care. You can set up a trouble ticket through email, as well as phone, and as well as just stopping by our office. We're on 333 Cass Road in Traverse City. Okay, how do companies ensure security practices are followed? ISC provides managed services as we just discussed. This is an important part of attaining security and maintaining security. ISC Care is a product where, again, we install an agent on your computer, and we're able to keep track of all comings and goings as far as any type of network issues, malware, hacking attempts, etc. One of the other things that a company can do to make sure that they're following these best practices are anti-phishing programs and anti-phishing training. We have found that 90% of successful cyber attacks are the result of phishing attempts. This data comes from PhishMe. It's a security report that they ran for 10 years from 2008 to 2017. It's just the vast majority of any type of invasion of your network comes through emails and social media. We partner with a couple different cybersecurity firms that offer phishing training and anti-malware and security awareness training. So if that's an interest, please contact us. One of the things that we really stress, and I'll probably say it a couple times, is that strong passwords are very necessary in this environment. I like to change that word password to passcode or passkey, as the first thing the hacker software looks for when it's searching for passwords is a word. It's looking for words, frontwards or backwards. It's looking for names. It's looking for dates, which most people have used in the past for their password. We strongly recommend at least a 12 alphanumeric character password. The longer the better. It's not necessary to use the different symbols, but it's helpful. And again, if you can keep that at 12 or longer, you're in a better situation than just a short password with your birthday on it, for example. Antivirus software, pretty much everybody has that installed these days. The main thing that we come across is the software in a lot of cases has expired. The license has ran out. They install a free version and you didn't buy their deluxe version, so therefore you're no longer protected, or they remove certain features that are necessary to protect yourself. Get a good antivirus software and keep it updated. If you need assistance with that, just give us a call. Security awareness training. Again, this goes along with the anti-phishing. We can't provide different different security awareness training and anti-phishing training through a couple different companies that we work with. Their programs have shown to have a very high success rate in mitigating a lot of these security hacks and malware infestations. One thing I don't have on here, but I'm going to stress again, is backups. Backups is the thing we do every day to make sure our data is saved. I think we do that every day, I'm not sure, but it's important to have your backups up to date and also confirm that they're good. Just because it says backup successful doesn't necessarily mean that your backup is good. We suggest restoration, partial restoration of those backups to make sure you don't have corruption in the data. And again, if you haven't set up your backups, now would be a good time to do that. We can offer assistance in this area if you need. Okay, technology requirements for maintaining a remote workforce. It's pretty obvious we're going to need a secure connection to that home. And I know John mentioned about companies offering stipends. If we're just saying to our employees or staff, okay, just take your computer home, plug it into your internet and connect to the office via this free software that we downloaded, that is not a secure connection. Secure connection involves various hardware and software to be installed to make it a secure connection. If you deal with finances, if you deal with health, you deal with schools, there are a lot of compliancy standards that need to be met, and people are forgetting this recently as we moved from the office to the home, and we're just reiterating that to make a secure connection, it's a lot more than just plug it into the internet. We are available to discuss this individually with people. We got to remember that there are many cyber criminals out there that are targeting remote workers. And once they get in, you probably wouldn't know. They're probably been there for weeks before you find out. And at that point, it's too late and you have to have it scrubbed and start over. We're trying to mitigate that by making sure you have that secure connection. If there's any questions on that, please feel free to ask. We also provide flexible and portable collaboration tools that make work from the office very seamless. Again, we're talking about Cisco WebEx, Microsoft 365, and Teams. They are very good products. In some cases, it takes a little bit of expertise to initially set them up, but once they have been installed, they work pretty seamlessly. The other part of that is WebEx and Microsoft Teams and 365 allow you to document share, calendar share, etc., things we talked about earlier involving collaboration. Tools for your home and your office machines. Antivirus is fine, strong passwords a must. But if you're going to do any sort of serious working from home for an extended period, going back to what John did mention regarding stipends for home office preparation, it is important to have secure firewall or router, secure wireless connections. If you are going to do this for a while, we suggest a commercial grade version of a firewall or router. And another thought is to make sure that your remote devices are separated from your home network. If you don't know how to do this, again, contact an IT professional to help you with this. There are many items in your house nowadays that cyber criminals know about. We have connections to everything from our TVs, our security systems, our refrigerators, you name it, there's a connection from those devices to the internet. And the cyber criminals know this, and that's what they target first to attack so they can get into the network. Okay, this will be the final part of our presentation. Overcoming challenges with the record keeping, file sharing, and remote collaboration. Besides the VPN, virtual private network, which allows you to get into your server at the office, there's also a virtual desktop infrastructure or virtual desktop interface. This is a little more elaborate setup where we have virtual desktop set up on a server, usually at the home office, or excuse me, usually at the headquarters, and your home office will have a virtual Windows desktop connection to that location. This means there's no data residing on your computer or your laptop. The data is on the server at the headquarters. It's secure. You get to do everything you want to do, including sharing documents, sharing calendars, etc., from your home without the threat of anybody getting into your secure data. If they try to hack into your home, you are protected because there are passcodes, passkeys to get into the system, and also you have a firewall at the location preventing this sort of access. The other nice thing about virtual desktop is you can access it from any device, including your smartphone, a tablet, Chromebook, etc., while you're on the road, or while you're at home, or even in the same office. We utilize VDI from our own office sometimes because it's just faster. So if you are interested, please contact us. We'd be glad to explain this more. The other secure tools we were talking about, WebEx and Microsoft Office and Teams, besides doing a good job of audio video, they also do a good job of sharing documents online. But again, you are in the cloud. Some people aren't comfortable with that. I'm one of them, but having the security that we've seen that Microsoft and Cisco put forth, we have absolutely no qualms about recommending a cloud version of a collaboration tool. Again, this way, there's no maintenance, there's no security to worry about. You're able to connect to that cloud, again, from almost any type of device. And it's easy to share, easy to pull up a conference, easy to instant message. It's a solution that is very cost effective as well. So if interested, again, you may contact us regarding that. And finally, we just want to make you aware that we offer commercial and small business phone systems. In the recent COVID pandemic start, we've had a couple of clients who had systems at their office, but not at their home. And all of a sudden, hey, we need to talk to these people now that they're working from home. One of them was a state entity, and they needed to talk to people in Lansing and all through the state, but they didn't have any phones at home. So we said, well, that's no problem. You have one of our IP phone systems. We can set up this phone system at your house remotely. If you want a regular phone, we can send you a phone. If not, you can use your computer. It's secure. And we did over 100 of these, and they were quite surprised we were able to set them up at virtually no cost because Cisco provided us licensing to do that at no charge. And it's a good way to collaborate from home as well as the office using an IP phone system. We also have hosted systems available where, again, you can plug the phone in anywhere, but there's no on-premise device. It's just a virtual phone in the cloud. Again, this is a monthly subscription type of system. And if you have questions on that, please contact us. That pretty much ends my presentation on technology requirements for the home office. If you have any questions, please write them down, please send them in. Glad to answer those. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you so much to you both, Don and John. And we do have several questions that came in, so I will pull those up now. So the first one, Don, would be for you, and it is, will ISC provide a no-charge security analysis for networks?
Absolutely. We are available to either remotely or on site determine what your needs are and provide a solution for your security. This would include both home and office. And if you would like to set up such a appointment, please give us a call on our phone or just contact us via email.
Perfect. Thank you. Do you think companies can still meet safely in person for team building events? John, I guess this one would probably be more for you. If they're not currently in the office, is there a way that they can still get together for that team building? As you mentioned, that culture is so important during this time as well.
Yeah, I think there really is. And I think, with using some of those different tools that Don was speaking about, whether you're using Slack or chat, using Microsoft Teams, using Zoom, we've had different gatherings with our different teams on a very regular basis. And a lot of them have been more casual. Again, we've done a little lunch and learns where we've gotten together and shared some information. It's usually been pretty casual, 10 or 15 minutes worth. But then quite honestly, it's just, it's kind of like that brown bag lunch get together in the office. We may be in different places. There might be a few people actually in the same place in the office. We luckily have a couple conference rooms where we can have a number of people in and still do social distancing. So they'll be together maybe in one space, but our other remote folks are, out and about. We have staff members that are in the Detroit area as well. So even though we're based out of Grand Rapids, we cover the entire state. So those folks aren't in the office anyway. So we've been using this kind of technology for years to make sure we're keeping connected with people, both from the business side of things, but also on the personal side of things. I think making sure that people, feel that it's okay to, I think Zoom meetings often feel a little, maybe a little more strict or a little more structured. Seems like there's a lot of that quiet time right at the beginning of a meeting. I think, invite people to, join in, a couple minutes early, so they can chat, so they can catch up with each other, just like you would have done in person. You often saw this in conference calls. Again, we've been using those kind of technologies for years and years. People who joined a little early, they sit and chat, catch up with each other, whatever it may be. It just seems from a video standpoint, I think just because so many people are new to it, it still feels a little foreign, a little weird. And I know, even using the Zoom system, I'm sitting here talking to a group of people. I can see a couple of people's reactions, but I'm also looking at my own face, which seems strange. It's like talking to yourself in the mirror in the morning. I guess if singing in the shower is okay, you can talk to yourself in the mirror as well, right? So I think a lot of us are just, we're still socializing to some of these new technologies and really getting comfortable with it. So I think anything you can do to help bring those people together, sending out little gift bags, little swag bags of company material to people who are working remotely to say, hey, we miss you and, you're not forgotten. can't wait to see you on the next Zoom call or whatever it may be. Just helping those people stay connected to the organization. Again, sometimes they're staying away because they need to. Some it's just, a geography situation. But anything you can do to make sure that they're feeling part of that team is going to be really helpful to your culture overall.
Perfect. Yeah, I love that. Those are all really, really great ideas. This next question kind of goes hand in hand with that. And I'm sure a lot of people out there right now are experiencing this. And it's, how do you encourage employees who may have to homeschool their kids if their kids' schools are not opening back up, or maybe daycares are closed and parents are trying to juggle a 40-hour work week while also becoming teachers for 8 hours a day too. And I know that's been, I know from personal experience with some of my coworkers, it's been very challenging for them. So how would you encourage an employee to make them feel like they're still part of the team, they're still doing a great job, and that they have other responsibilities they have to tend to right now as well?
Yeah, and that's a great question. And it's probably the biggest challenge of the remote work situation that we find ourselves in today. I think this is one of those situations, especially for managers, is that over communicating, there's just no such thing at this point. You just think about all the times when you're working together in an office, all those casual conversations, all those quick little drop-bys you often have, or your staff dropping by your office to just check on something. We see that, I see the dichotomy in how we communicate. Those things happen all the time. And yet quite often I was working with a technology related company, software development company, where you'd have people who were sitting not more than 10 feet away from each other on a team, all messaging each other through Slack. I mean, there was an online conversation going and all these people were sitting within 10 feet of each other. There was 5 or 6 people 10 feet away from each other, and they're carrying on this quote unquote silent conversation on a screen. So I think, again, the communication piece, keeping those lines of communication open, having regular check-ins. I think that's probably one of the most important things, because you're missing those casual check-ins. Making sure that even if you had formal check-ins before when people were in the office, having maybe an extra 1 or 2 of those. And as part of that check-in, checking in with them as a person. Project status updates and, quantity and quality. Those are all things that we're going to talk about all the time. But how are they? How are they doing? How's the home situation? How are the kids? How are they coping with things? And from there, as an employer, are there things we can do to help? A lot of times there aren't. They're just things they're really going to have to kind of work out at their home. But maybe there's some community resources they might not be aware of. Maybe there's some resources through local educational groups or the local ISD. The Bay Area ISD through Traverse Bay. There's just all kinds of different places where maybe there's some help or some good ideas, and potentially maybe even a support group. Putting a group together of, the stay-at-home school parents who don't want to be stay-at-home school parents, but they are. And again, that's where I know that we work with probably about 18 different charter schools across the state of Michigan. They're all struggling with that, especially up north. The goal and the plan is, hey, we're looking forward to the kids being back in August and September. They're also planning for the alternative, what if we can't, but also knowing that there's going to be a certain number of parents who are just like, I'm not comfortable having my kids go into a classroom yet, even if they are social distanced. Kids are kids, they're going to do what they're going to do. It's hard for them to social distance. Keeping masks on them is difficult. So there's just that, parental, protection piece that we all have. So just as they are trying to plan for multiple scenarios, as employers, we need to plan for that as well, and know that it's going to be bumpy, it's going to be rough. And, I think a good measure of grace goes a long way in these kind of situations. At the same time, work still has to get done. I kind of come back to that. And having those good, kind of in-depth one-on-one conversations with people, understanding what are they struggling with, what are the things they can and can't do, and getting to a point where is this something that we can work with or not. They're really tough conversations, and all kinds of organizations, from the nonprofits we work with, the schools and private organizations, are having those conversations. And if they're not, quite honestly, their culture and their workforce is suffering for it.
Yeah, that was a really great answer. Thank you, because I know a ton of parents right now are struggling with this, so it's great to hear some of your advice. So Don, this next one is for you. Can you give a high-level overview or example of the equipment needed for an employee to have a secure connection at home? And the second part of that is, what is the best antivirus to use when working from a remote location?
Sure, be glad to answer that. If you're working from home and it's going to be for an extended period of time, I would definitely invest in a higher level router to secure your network from the internet. A lot of brands out there. We typically go with either Cisco or Barracuda to make sure that it's a commercial, well-known commercial grade router and or firewall. If you have more than one device, you might want to consider, again, a higher grade, commercial grade switch, which you can connect your printer to and your other devices, whether it's scanner, access point, whatever. Also, the most critical point of all this is when you do install your computer, you want to make sure that it mates properly with all these devices. And that's something that a professional IT person can do for you. When it comes to antivirus software, we're resellers of WebRoot. We have changed antiviruses from time to time. They seem to be most consistent in protecting your servers, your computers, and most importantly, it doesn't slow down your computer. Easy to update, easy to follow up with. It doesn't pop up on your screen every day if you don't want it to interrupt what you're doing. We are offering a special starting today, free WebRoot with any new ISC care agreement. It's normally $30 per computer charge. We're offering that at no charge starting today with any type of ISC care agreement. So if there's anything else, please let me know, but we'll be available afterwards at the office. You can contact us directly there. I don't know if we're able to show phone numbers, or is that not permitted?
I can send it out afterwards in the follow-up email.
Okay.
I can definitely share both of the contact information.
Okay, thank you.
So it looks like we do have one question left, and John, this would be for you. Earlier in your presentation, you had mentioned that some companies are experiencing a big brother type of problem. And maybe some of the employees don't necessarily feel trusted, or the managers don't know how to provide that trust. So the question was, are there resources available to teams to stop the big brother approach from happening, and instead learning to establish trust from a remote location with your team?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it really does start with managers. Again, most managers, especially frontline supervisors, if you're dealing more at that level as well, quite honestly, most managers were the best doers on their team at one time or another. And because they were great doers, they're like, wow, that person would probably be able to manage people. And those are totally different skills. Depending on the profession and the area you're in, they're just totally different skill sets. And so that's why you see so many first-time managers and supervisors struggle. A few, do just have the natural gift for leadership and the ability to work with people and, build a team, is fantastic. But those are really skills and traits that most people have to learn over time. And when you're in one mode of management, especially when it's on site and, having your team visible for the most part, going to something where all of a sudden you're not seeing everybody all the time, you're not able to kind of do the management by walking around piece. You need to be able to find different ways to do that. And so I think it really starts with good manager and supervisory training, really making sure that they understand what are some of these different tools and what are some of these different approaches I need to use, to make sure I'm connecting well with my team. We've spoken a little bit about that already as far as just more casual touch-ins, checking with people on a different level. And some of it is really developing what are the things we truly measure performance around. I think quite honestly, especially in an office setting, you know, the fact that people show up on time and leave at the appropriate time of night, whatever the manager thinks that is, are the ones quite honestly who probably get the higher valuations. Putting in time is not exactly tied directly to productivity, customer satisfaction, client satisfaction, et cetera. So it's really understanding what are the things we measure as an organization when it comes to work and what's most important, be it, you know, collaboration, client service. Are we doing surveys of customers who've been served by this person and getting feedback around that? Is it more of a production admin environment and AP and AR? Are we looking at quality of work and those kind of things? Going back quite honestly to something that seems very basic, but it's job descriptions. What are in the job descriptions? What are the key tasks and the essential functions of this job that we should really be measuring and helping guide our performance discussions? And then from there, managing around those. So I think that's a great place to start. It's kind of going back to basics because we get away from that quite often, especially in situations like this. We start to manage on instinct when we get into crisis, and we kind of get away from, quite honestly, some of the basics that we did have out there as our foundational knowledge. So I would say loop back to those job descriptions, look at developing those KPIs. What are the things we're truly looking at where we're not able to be there and be talking with people and have a little better finger on the pulse? We just got to be able to take the pulse from a different place.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you so much for that answer. Well, we are out of time, so I did just want to thank both of you one more time for all of your expertise, all the great examples that you brought to the table. I know I found it extremely beneficial, and I'm sure our other investors did as well. As a friendly reminder, we will be sharing this on our Travelers Connect YouTube page and our Travelers Connect website within 24 hours. So make sure you're looking out for that. And if you do have any additional questions, please feel free to email them directly to myself. I'd be more than happy to pass them along. And I will be sending out a follow-up email with the contact information for both John and Don after this as well. So on that note, again, thank you both. We truly appreciate it. I hope everyone has a fantastic day. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we hope to see you at our next webinar. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.